So for day 12, we're almost done with this shit. I am taking a look at The Restaurant of Many Orders, and I have a feeling this won't be a long one, because this movie is 20 minutes long, so yeah, there won't be a whole lot I can say about it in general, and besides, I wouldn't want this review to be longer than the movie itself, that would just be weird. But this anime was actually based after a story that is really old. It was made in 1924, and it was written by Kenji Miyazawa. And for anyone who has been watching my videos for a long time, you might recognize this name because I actually reviewed a video game on the SNES that was based after many of his stories. Also, it's not the first time where this story was actually told in some sort of visual form. So there was actually a movie that got released back in the 50s that was black and white and even had stop motion with puppets, which actually looked pretty interesting. And then there's this one that I'm reviewing, which came out in 1991, and then 2 years later, in 1993, there was another anime version. It's kinda odd to see two films based after the same story get released so close to each other. But get this though, this version that I'm taking a look at is a silent film. Yeah, you don't see too many of those get made, especially in the 90s no less. So anyways, without further ado, let's talk about the story, which will not take long at all. So it begins that there are two hunters that are wandering around the forest that are, well, hunting. Who would have guessed? But as they get deeper in the woods, they start getting lost, and then they also start getting hungry, but eventually they actually find a random-ass restaurant in the middle of nowhere. And from here on out, you could probably take a guess what's gonna happen next, right? Yeah, the restaurant is not exactly normal, but it starts out to be kinda normal, but then progressively things get weirder and more creepier, and yeah, that's basically all I need to say. Yeah, it's the most simplistic of stories ever. But then again, you have to remember, this is a story that is like almost 100 years old at this point, so it is expected to be like that. And I'm not gonna go too much into detail about the weird stuff in this one because, well, I do feel like you probably should watch it yourself. I mean, it's only 20 minutes long. So yeah, that's really all I need to say. Pretty much the story of this is pretty much like your typical other classic tales that have been retold many times. You know, stuff like Frankenstein and Dracula and all that kind of stuff. So let's get moving on and start talking about the animation, and holy shit, this anime is really fucking cool looking. Yeah, I might as well talk about that aspect first. So yeah, the art direction is not only very unique looking, but I just think it looks really awesome. Like, it kind of reminds me of like a copper painting come to life. All the settings are like really nice looking. There's a lot of really cool set pieces that are also very unique looking. And the character designs are pretty good too, especially the monster designs. And the animation flow is really good too. There's really nothing bad I can say about the animation in this one overall. So now, as for the music, I think the music is pretty good. Now, as to be expected for a silent film, they have to rely a lot on music, and I think they did do a pretty good job here. Not only does it have a lot of great ambient music, but also does have some good creepy stuff that I really do like. It's nothing super memorable, but it fits the film perfectly. It's all really simplistic stuff, but it works effectively. So now, as my overall thoughts on The Restaurant of Many Orders is that I actually found this one to be really enjoyable. Of course, most of it has to do with its art and visual aspect and the whole uniqueness of it, but for a short and simple story though, I think it's actually really good. For that, most silent films usually do have very simplistic stories that are easy to follow, and of course with this one, with not having any title cards, everything is very easy to tell the story with its expressions, and I think they did a great job with that. Yeah, it's really the expressions that the characters make in this one that easily sell the story a lot. And when you have the story mixed with its really unique art style, I actually thought it made it very intriguing for its runtime. And yeah, as for the weird creepy stuff that happens later on, well, like I said, I'm not gonna get too much into it though, but I will let you all know that it's nothing super fucked up and controversial though. But it was creepy in a more simplistic way, and sometimes some of the most simplistic things can be very effective like that. So yes, if you have 20 minutes to spare and you got nothing to watch during this horror month of October, and you also really like silent films, then this is definitely worth a watch. Hell, even if you're not crazy about silent films, I still think it's at least worth watching just for the really unique aspects that it has. for that it's just really well made, really cool looking, and of course, the story itself was good fun. And obviously, this is not the type of anime you should be going into expecting it to be like the most mind-blowing experience ever, but kinda similar to what I said about The Curse of Kazuo Umezu is that it's a more simplistic, fun horror film that's really well made and stylish. But to be perfectly honest though, as much as I did like that film for what it was, I actually like this one a little bit more. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I need to say about this one. It's a really good, unique, interesting film that I just randomly found and was like, you know what? Let's do this. This is something unique, and I ended up really liking it. So yeah, there you go. That's all I need to say about this one, and this review has no reason to be any longer than what it is now. So yeah, let's move on to the final film for this horror feature.